Hello and welcome back once again to Movie Reviews. So, still playing catch-up for the movies I planned to see a couple weeks ago. Actually got a couple days off in a row here, so hopefully I'll be able to catch up on them this week. So, first one up was actually third on my list of things I wanted to see, but it was the first one playing tonight. So again, seeing things out of sequence. But first up tonight was Annabelle. As far as how Annabelle compares to The Conjuring, I'll be up front and say I like The Conjuring better. This one really wasn't all that scary. It was kind of predictable. Most of the basic plot points I called within the first few minutes of the movie starting. It starts with a recap of the introduction of the Annabelle doll in The Conjuring. And then it goes into the backstory of 1 year prior. And we're introduced to this couple. And, it's a guy and a girl. And the girl's pregnant. And for some reason she collects dolls. And she has been for a while. But there's one that's like really rare and hard to find or something. So her husband manages to track one down and give it to her as a present. One thing about the movie, again, just like an odd thing that really didn't make it scary, is like when he first brings in the box that the doll's in, it's going to be Annabelle. As they're opening the box and she's pulling it out, it's playing this ominous music like something's going to happen. And it's like prior to the point where the doll becomes possessed. So that doesn't really make any sense. So then, as things go on, they start, she's watching the news on TV and they're talking about the Charles Manson family and like the cult practices of the 70s and whatnot, because it's based in the 70s, or maybe the 60s. I forget how far back Manson was. Maybe late 60s, early 70s. So obviously it's like leading into this tie-in about the cult. Not necessarily the Manson cult, but a cult in general. So then you get to the part in the preview where she hears the noise next door, the husband goes to investigate, and he finds the bodies and tells her to go call the police. So prior to that, she had commented several times to him about not locking their door because, it's older times when you could leave your door open, your neighbors would watch your place for you and let you know if anything suspicious happened or would call the police or whatever. So she comments, you can't keep leaving the door unlocked. It's, it's a different world now. Things like that. And then as she goes out to check to see if he's okay when he goes to check on the neighbor, she leaves the front door wide open. And then when he says, go call the police, she runs back inside, doesn't close the door behind her. Actually, I think she did close it behind her, but she didn't bother to lock it. So, of course, she's the one that, let these people that attacked them be able to get into their house. Then there's a sequence with, the lady picking up the doll and saying, I like your dolls, and it's... There's more to that story. I don't want to give too much of it away. It's revealed within the first few minutes of the movie. But the pregnant mother gets stabbed at one point before the intruders are killed. But the baby's okay, even though they're playing ominous music when she gets stabbed again. So you're thinking, okay, she's gonna have a miscarriage, and that's gonna be what kind of causes all this. But no, the baby's fine. So, of course, the baby's fine. The baby's going to become the plot point of the movie, right? So then, other little things keep happening around the house after this, and they keep playing, ominous music for no reason. At one point, he gets up, and because they hear a noise in the other room, and it turns out her sewing machine's running, which, could just be a short in the wiring or something, and is causing it to power on. So as he's standing there looking for the off switch, it's playing this ominous music like something's going to happen. And then he just walks over the wall and pulls the plug out. And that's it. It's just like, dong. It's like, really? It's obvious nothing was going to happen right then. So then they decide that they can't live in the house anymore, so they move into this apartment complex. and there's a lady that lives in the apartment complex who runs the bookstore in town, and apparently I don't know what her deal is, but like she almost seems like she's stalking them because she starts showing up at random places. Like she just starts popping up everywhere they go, like, oh, hey. It's like, what is this lady's deal? And then you start to learn more of her backstory. So at first you're thinking, okay, is she going to be part of something that's going on, or is she going to come into play later? She comes into play later. Spoilers, by the way. Not going to tell you what she comes into play as, but as they become friends and she starts to tell her story, you kind of predict where the ending's going to go already. So yeah, I kind of called that to start with. And another thing that irritated me about this movie is how often the child was left alone. Like, the baby's left in a room by itself, you assume it's sleeping, and the mother leaves the apartment and goes down to the basement. It's like, who the hell leaves their kid alone like that? You know, if you're going to be leaving the apartment, most people will take the child with them. But, yeah, she does this repeatedly throughout the movie, ever since the kid was born. It's like there's long periods of time where you don't see the child. You forget it even exists half the time. And then it's like, oh, my baby. And it's like, where the hell's the kid been this whole time? You just leave it, like, random places, because it sure as hell ain't in the apartment. So then, as more stuff starts to happen, they kind of realize that it might be an issue with this doll. And they contact their priest, who appears a couple times throughout the movie, to help them out. And the priest says, well, you know, we have people we can call to help. And then he mentions the couple that's the main couple from The Conjuring, the ones who we later find out own Annabelle and keep her locked up. But he's like, there's this couple that we occasionally freelance with. If nothing else, we can call them. They're back east, but, you know, they would come out here if we call them. But then, like, they never appear. Nothing ever becomes of it because when he goes to take the doll basically kicks his ass and runs away. So he never got back to the church to call them, you know, so, yeah. It was just like seemed like a stretch to just throw out, oh, there's this couple who will later find the doll. It's just weird. So yeah, then the ending comes up and you kind of know where it's going. And of course it leads up that the mother's gonna fight the demon to get her baby back. And then, if you've been following what I'm saying, you kind of know what the twist would be. And I'm like, it's so obvious. You know, they shoehorned it in so heavily. I mean, it wasn't even shoehorned. It was just like, here it is. You know, we're throwing it out here in Front Street. Are you paying attention? Because if not, then you're basically not paying attention to the movie at all, because this is obvious. But yeah, so I called the ending, and then the family assumes it's over, you know, because they're not being haunted anymore. But then the priest, who's recovered at this point, spoilers, he doesn't die. He tells them, you know, evil doesn't just go away. You can't kill what was never born, since it was conjured. He says, you know, just because it's not still haunting you doesn't mean it's not still out there. And, you know, God have mercy on the soul of whoever encounters the doll next. And they don't know where the doll went. They never found it at the police never found it at the house when they were investigating everything. Or at the apartment, I should say. And then it just randomly cuts to the doll is sitting in this random doll shop somewhere. I forget where the hell they said it was. Like somewhere, I want to say China, but the lady was speaking English, so I might be wrong on that. But then this lady comes in and she's like, oh, I'm looking for something for my daughter. And she sees the doll and she's like, oh, we've been looking all over for one of these. My daughter has a doll collection, and this is like a really rare piece. We've never been able to find one. So she ends up buying it, and that's the daughter who basically you see in the part of The Conjuring where they're nursing students and the doll's like running around the apartment and stuff, and they give the doll to the couple, and yeah. So that's basically Annabelle in a nutshell. really wasn't scary. There was like one jump scare. It looked like there was someone standing in front of a window, and as she walked over to the window, like this big gust of wind came in, and it did like a stinger. And it's just like, really? That was the one jump scare you actually managed to pull off throughout the movie. I will say the demon, because they actually show the demon quite a bit. The first time you see the demon, it is actually pretty creepy looking. I'm not going to say why, so you can watch the movie to find out. It's just like the very first appearance, because it's in a dark room, and it's just kind of standing there. But yeah, you'll have to see it to know what I mean. But yeah, overall, wasn't really impressed with it. Like I said, I was more into The Conjuring, and I don't even remember what I rated that anymore. I don't think I rated it excessively high. So, as far as a star rating, what are we going to rate Annabelle? 2.5. Yeah, maybe lower. I mean, it's an average movie. I mean, I don't want to say I wasn't bored watching it, because there were parts where I was like, okay, move along already, because just like nothing was happening. But, it was more or less a middle-of-the-road movie, not really a whole lot to it. But like I said, nothing happened for a good portion of it. The ending was really predictable. One jump scare managed to make me jump. Nothing, well, the first shot of the demon, which why they even showed the demon is beyond me, because you wouldn't be able to see a demon. Because it like appears to everyone once the first time she sees it, it doesn't, but then like by the end, everyone is seeing this demon. It's like, really, it wouldn't manifest itself like that. So just the fact that it exists at all visually, and it just kind of loses points for that too, although the first appearance of it was a little bit creepy. So, I almost want to drop it down to a 2, just because, like I said, pretty much nothing happened through it, but, if you like The Conjuring, it's a semi-okay companion piece, so I kind of want to give it a 2. I'm just going to go with a 2. I'm trying to be nice to give it the 2.5. I just can't pull enough out of it to justify the 2.5, so it's a 2. Yeah, not much else to say about it. I do got 2 more reviews to do after this, because I made it a multiple movie day. I was going to do 4, but I started getting tired, and then I was getting ready to film these and realized I only had 5 minutes of tape left, so I had to move over here to Walmart and buy some tapes, and now I'm sitting in Walmart's parking lot doing this instead of over at the theater where I normally am. Although if I hadn't told you that, you probably wouldn't have known it. But yeah, so got 2 more of these coming up, so I will return shortly with those. Until then, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Movie Reviews.